and welcome to The Gist. I am your host, Chris Vetrano, here every week to break down all the things happening across Bravo and pop culture. What a week we have. It's March 20th, and we are deep in the Scandoval drama happening on Vanderpump Rules. Yes, it continues to deliver. And before we get to all of what happened this week on Vanderpump Rules, because guys, it was so wild watching this week's episode, given everything that's going on. But I want to cover some of the other shows first. So we're going to get right into Real Housewives this week. We don't have our Sunday Real Housewives, no Potomac. We're getting ready for, Atlanta is going to be coming back soon. We've got, right now we've got this Candy SWV escape show, and I'm not following that. So if that's a miss, if I need to be following that, if you're watching and you tell me that I need to get on that, I will. But I haven't been devoting my time to that, mostly because I've been so exhausted and fatigued from all the Scandoval drama. So, but I am excited about what we've got going on New Jersey. I feel like I'm saying this every week now, but I'm just really loving New Jersey this season. It just feels like it's a return to form. We've got, the family dynamics back. We've got the right kind of drama. Nothing feels artificial. Yes, it's a little toxic. The Joe and Teresa stuff is toxic in a way that's really, really sad, but we're watching something really real, it feels, play out. And so it's been nice to see. And so this episode, we had Teresa in therapy, which is, I think, a good thing, right? Like, we're all sort of feeling that Teresa has a different energy this season. She's really kind of delivering. In the past couple of seasons, she just was unwilling to back down, and that wasn't always playing in her favor. And I think that even though she has some stands and there are loyal Teresa followers out there, she was just, when it gets too toxic, people start to question. And I think she got into therapy. I think Louis has been good for her. And all of these things have been a real 180 in the way in which she's presenting herself, at least for cameras, which is, for all intents purposes, that's what we have to believe, because that's what we're watching. So, but yeah, Teresa, she went to her therapy. She was talking about the relationship with her brother Joe, and and even the therapist is getting to the point where she's like, if you're apologizing and you're putting all of this out there and putting in this effort to try to rebuild your relationship with him, and he's unwilling to do it, then potentially it's time to move on. But, she is encouraging her to continue to try. Teresa mentioned that Melania's Sweet 16, that Antonia did not come, but all of her other cousins did, which was sad to hear, because, Teresa's acknowledging that this is really impacting the children in a way. And, later we end up hearing from Gia that she is also kind of feeling like there's a wedge between the kids, and that the kids are really starting to learn what's going on through the media, and they're seeing it. And then, they feel like as if the parents and Melissa and Joe and Teresa are kind of building this divide in the cousins. And so that's been sad. But ultimately it does seem like Teresa's getting to a place in her therapy where she's really going to have to let go of her relationship with Joe. And as we know, just from the news and from BravoCon and from other things, that these two are not headed towards a repair. And I feel like once you don't go to a wedding of your sibling, like, there's not a lot to go back to. Like, that's a pretty damning thing that is going to damage that relationship forever. And so I don't know how these two find a path forward. And I think we're seeing that as Teresa goes to her therapy. And then Marge had her surgery and had her friend Jennifer Fessler over. And I'm finally glad to see that these two are interacting, because she was brought on as Marge's friend and she's a friend of Marge, but then they have filmed nothing together. And it felt very strange, and how we were putting these two together. So it was nice that she came over after her surgery, although I was confused. Marge can't stand up to greet people when they arrive at her house because of her wrist. She's like, oh, I can't stand because of the surgery. It's like, well, girl, you had surgery on your wrist, not your legs. So I don't know. Marge is like too much. She's just team too much. She has been for a number of years. I liked her kind of in the beginning with her kind of kitschy pigtails and the things that she was doing, but she's just coming off not so good. And Jennifer Fessler, her friend, who actually showed up as a real friend in this episode, is telling her, hey, your behavior was poor at my house. You were saying awful things about Jennifer, and that was not appropriate, and you don't look good. And she was really holding Marge accountable in a way that I think was actually really admirable. But they had their one-on-one session to kind of rehash what had happened at Jennifer Fessler's brunch on the last episode between Marge and Jennifer Aydin, and then also we're talking about we cut to Jennifer Aydin having the same kind of conversation and rehashing the brunch with her husband Bill, and Jen talks about Marge called me a disheveled drug addict. And, that's pretty harsh, especially given that Jennifer admits, she says, I smoke a little weed when my kids go to bed. Like I'm not, I'm not doing anything else. And, does weed make a drug addict? I don't know. I'm not sure. I mean, in a lot of states now, and someday soon, hopefully federally, we're going to have legalization of marijuana, and it's going to be no different than having a glass of alcohol. And there's something really judgy about Marge, and I can't really figure out why she's digging her heels in. But to call somebody a drug addict based around her smoking a little weed at night is ridiculous and absurd. And I'm not really sure what she's trying to do there. And, Jennifer Aydin calls out that why isn't anyone else sort of coming to her defense when Marge is saying these horrible things and talking about her husband's affair and calling her a disheveled drug addict? Why isn't anyone coming to her defense? And she says that it's because Marge has, dirt on all of these people. And because Marge has been known to be the person that kind of goes around and digs up this dirt so that she can either, one, bring it to the show, or two, use it against people if they threaten to bring something up about her, which tells me that there's probably a lot that Marge is trying to hide. And she's, getting her ducks in a row so that if she needs to, she can fling some dirt right back. And I think that's why she is so threatened by Jennifer Aydin, because she knows that Jennifer Aydin is kind of the same way. Like, she's willing to sit and listen to anybody tell her any kind of story or rumor. And I think that that's really what is potentially playing out here, is Marge is scared that Jennifer's going to eventually know or find out information that she doesn't want her to know. So I think that's been the rub between these two. And, they've tried to mend fences and it just doesn't seem to go in their favor. So, and then Melissa, talking about Louis being manipulating. First of all, it's supposed to be manipulative. And she said Louis is manipulating. But I'm when she was talking about that, I was that's really the pot calling the kettle Melissa Gorga, right? I think Melissa manipulates Joe in a major, major way, which has caused a lot of the friction between Teresa and Joe. And so it's very interesting to see this playing out now with Melissa and Joe being so against Louis and coming at Teresa so hard, when for years we kind of saw it this opposite way. And then the big thing in the episode was the baseball game. Dolores hosted her annual charity event. And it was actually a little bit crazy. Frank is there. They're talking about how Dolores's boyfriend is not there because he's, sick or he's got surgery. And, it's and Melissa's just kind of oh, well, thankfully Frank's here. And there was just no empathy for the fact that Dolores is in love and she's found somebody that she is in love with. And let's not forget that Frank cheated on her. And everyone, not just, I came from Melissa a little bit, but not just Melissa, everyone is kind of team Frank. And, Frank's like, oh, I'm going to cry. And I just miss our old relationship and all of these things. And everyone's giving him all of this like support of like, Dolores, look what you're doing to Frank. He just wants your relationship back. And she's like, yeah, this is a guy that cheated on me. When we ended our relationship, we didn't have sex anymore, but everything else pretty much stayed the same. But now I am having sex with someone that I'm in love with, and this is my person. And he doesn't find it appropriate that I'm hanging out all the time with my ex-husband. And I think that like she is in the right to do that and move on. And so it was kind of wild just seeing everybody sort of rally around Frank in this way. And quite frankly, like, I mean, I like Frank, and I like when Frank and Dolores are together as friends. And I think that they've had a really healthy relationship in the past. But, that also changes. And I don't know if we like need really Frank to be on the show anymore, because he's himself not a housewife and he doesn't have a housewife wife. So I don't really know why he needs to be in the mix so much. But yeah, so, that was sad to see. It was fun to watch them all kind of play the game. Danielle is still, I'm starting to see, I don't know if you saw Danielle on Watch What Happens Live after the episode aired, but I'm really starting to get the feels that they are setting Danielle up to be the new Teresa. Like, I think she's going to end up being the new Queen Bee, because, Teresa has talked about like in the next few years, she's potentially going to make a move to California. And I think that, she'll probably wait for the kids to get out of high school and go off on their own. And then she wants to make a move. And she's saying, like, I'm moving out of New Jersey, which the writing on the wall there is that she won't be a Real Housewife of New Jersey. And so, that's kind of coming up. And so I think producers are probably, who's our next one? And I don't think they have one on the cast right now. I think Melissa would probably think she was. Marge probably thinks she is. Both of those people, I think, are at risk of not returning next season. So, yeah, they really needed to find somebody new. And I think that Danielle is bringing a lot of it. She's got some family stuff that we are definitely going to dig into, what's going on between her and her brother. She's connected to Caroline Manzo. Her children's names are like almost in alignment with Teresa's daughter's names. It's giving me old Teresa vibes. So I'm interested to see kind of where that goes. But I was loving her on this episode as well. She's definitely becoming one of my new faves. And then, it ends with Jennifer, Aiden, and Bill in therapy. And so, Marge has been claiming that there are problems in that marriage. And clearly there are, so much that they had to go to therapy. And I think what's really sad about it is, Bill seems very checked out. He's the one that cheated, but this is years ago, something that Jennifer moved on from, something that they decided that they were going to move past and continue to be together. And unfortunately, because Marge brought it to the show last year, they've had to relive it. And now all of their kids have found out about it. And that's the part that is actually really heartbreaking about any of these kind of reality shows, is when the kids didn't sign up for this. And so when all of a sudden, like, there's this kind of information that kids are finding out about their parents without, in a way that they didn't plan to tell them, it's pretty sad. So I don't know what's going to happen. I'm getting some bad vibes, because like Jennifer and Bill are good when they're good, but it's like, how much of that is smoke and mirrors? And I don't know. I think I'm getting like a lot of Shannon and David Beador vibes from them a little bit, where Bill just seems kind of checked out. In one of the more recent episodes, when she was talking about, that she lets the kids she's having them do the chores, and he's kind of like, yeah, but you spoil them. And in this conversation, he seemed very checked out, and she was talking and he was like thinking about something else, and let's hope it wasn't someone else, but he just doesn't seem to be fully present in that relationship. So hopefully the therapy works and they end up in a good spot. But that's New Jersey. It looks like we're getting into some heated stuff next week. Jackie is just coming for Danielle, and I think that just feels thirsty, and it doesn't make any sense why she continues to sort of just go after her, other than that she's a friend of this year and she's trying to find her storyline, and I'm not here for it. So, but that's Jersey this week. Moving on to, we have the second installment of the Real Housewives of Miami reunion. And I mean, the reunion, the episode was shot mostly backstage this week. It was insane how much footage they did of the behind the scenes backstage. Alexia and Adriana just fighting, and so much going on, and so many conversations happening about what they're ultimately not saying on the stage, or what they start to say, and then Andy kind of has to move them on because these women are so fiery and they won't back down, and nobody will listen to each other. So it's like we're sort of just like hashing it out, and by hashing it out, it's just screaming at each other simultaneously. And then Andy like moves on to the next topic and is like, well, we're going to leave it there, and then moves on. So by the time these women get backstage to like get their touch ups and have a snack, and, you know, if you're Larsa and Kiki have plenty of shots, it's like all hell breaks loose because they're still ready to fight because they never feel like they won that fight. So, you know, and Alexia, you know, I talked about earlier, like in the previous seasons with Teresa, where she just like, she couldn't apologize. She saw red. She was unable to like really like control her anger and emotions and have any empathy for anyone else. Alexia is very much doing that. And, you know, she apologized to Julia. She apologized to Julia on stage for the things that she had said about her potentially being like most likely to be a prostitute. And they, you know, and then backstage, she like went into the dressing room and was like, you know, thank you for accepting my apology. And she came in with this, like, it seemed very artificial and it didn't seem sincere. Like, I didn't feel like she was there for the right reasons. I felt like she was there because she wanted to like put a dig into Adriana, knowing that she was also in the room. And then of course, that's when all hell broke loose and they just started screaming at each other. And, you know, it was insane. But then we get back into the couch and Kiki has joined the couch. I love Kiki. Immediately her boob comes out. I loved Andy was like, I think Marisol or someone was like, oh, Kiki, your whole boob's out. And Andy was looking down at his phone. He's like, oh, I missed it. You know, Andy, who, you know, very famously loves himself some boobs. But I'm also like, well, thank God, because that sounds like an HR issue. But yeah, so Kiki comes out. I thought that she, you know, she's kind of the bright spot. They're talking about how she knew Lenny was cheating because of the shape of his head. And, you know, she just had some wild moments in the past couple of seasons that they did like a little montage of her sort of recognizing that like Lenny might be cheating. But I love Kiki so much. And then when Julia was talking about, you know, that her and Martina had to put their adoption plans on hold due to Martina's cancer diagnosis. Kiki, you know, was like, well, if you know, ever need to be around kids, like she was just offering up like everyone's kids to Julia, like, yeah, you can babysit. And then even Andy was like, yeah, I've got 2, you can come and babysit. So I thought that was kind of sweet. And that's like, you know, that's kind of Kiki. Like she finds this like light, she finds like kind of a funny, humorous way of like bringing things back down to earth. And I really appreciate her. So I hope that they continue to have her. I was disappointed that she didn't get like a title card at the end when everybody was getting their recaps, because Marisol and Adriana both got them. And I was like, well, Kiki's a friend of too, so why isn't she getting that? But it's probably in the pay scale or something. But that felt strange. And then, I mean, Larsa was kind of the hot topic, or she was in the hot seat, I guess, this episode. You know, at one point she said that she doesn't talk about people. Like she doesn't talk badly about people. It was like LOL, because that's all she does. And, her and Nicole just are not going to find resolve. And I'm on team Nicole in this argument. Like if Larsa is going to make a claim that Nicole slept her way to the top, or that she's been sleeping with all the doctors in her hospital, like these are not just claims about her life. This is something that could affect her career. And, Nicole's like, I would welcome if you had proof of this stuff, but you're making up lies and it's going to have a big impact. And at one point, Larsa's not the best at like a screaming match in a fight. She just says things, but it doesn't actually, I don't think, process in her mind as to what she's saying. Because at one point she just says like, I have a real job, not like you, to Nicole, who's a doctor, the only doctor on the cast. Okay. So I don't think that Larsa's real job, selling pictures of herself on OnlyFans, is more real of a job than being a doctor. So I'll just leave it there. But I was like, that was a real stretch. And then, Andy had to scream at the women again because they were all screaming at each other. And I kind of think that that's like team too much. Like when Andy screams, it's like, this is what you signed up for. And if you can't facilitate these conversations and control these women, maybe you aren't the right host anymore. Maybe we're getting to the point where you're not the person that should be hosting these reunions. I don't know. I know that they like love that and it becomes a lot of memes and it shows him screaming going viral. I don't love it. But what I did love is when Andy called Larsa an asshole. And I was like, oh, wow, that was because, he kind of came to Dr. Nicole's defense in that, he was saying that was an asshole thing to do. And then when Larsa, it kind of flew over Larsa's head and she kept fighting with Nicole. And like, Nicole's like, even Andy's calling you an asshole. And it like, you could tell it clicked with her at that point, what had happened. And she like kind of gave a look and got a little quiet. And so, and honestly, she was being an asshole. And I kind of loved that Andy called her out. He gets into the drama a little bit more than he used to. And then the last sort of note, we have one more installment before it ends, but I'm getting such a mean girl vibe from some of the OGs. And I guess really it's probably just Marisol and Alexia, because it's not Adriana or Lisa that does this, but they just are seeming, Marisol and Alexia, they like team up on the newbies and like the new cast members, who, by the way, this is season 2 of this new cast. And so these aren't new people anymore. Gertie and Dr. Nicole. And, these are people that, I mean, the viewers love. And there's a reason why they're on the show. And they just team up and like go after them without really any sort of merit or reason. And it's really starting to come across as desperate. It's like this desperation for them to stay on the couch. And, I feel like even like Alexia was, not seated next to Andy. And I feel like that in itself has created a lot of emotion for her, which is what we're seeing her really like come across as so desperate. And it's just, I don't know, they come across looking horrible, I think. So I don't know what's going to happen. We end with, we're going to start talking about the Lenny affair again with Lisa for the next installment. And, that will of course be dark, but hopefully eye-opening for Lisa. And then I don't know what else we have left, but I really hope that, Alexia is watching this back and taking some notes, because cameras are about to roll again in less than a month. They're supposed to be picking up and filming the next season. And I hope she's like taking some notes and realizing that she needs to look within. She needs to give her friend Teresa a call and say, how did you do this? And hit her up some therapy. So that's Miami this week. Summer House. Oh man, what a doozy of an episode. I mean, it starts with the continuation of the fight that we saw start last week. As Danielle had said in a game that, these games, they always cause problems on these reality shows. But the game had asked, who do you trust the least? Danielle pulled the card. She said Amanda. Amanda started crying. She left because she felt hurt, which then sent Kyle into a rage. And the irony is that he wasn't raging against Danielle. He was raging against Lindsay. And Carl was sitting there listening to his, quote, best friend just say these horrible things about his girlfriend. And I mean, just a full vomit of the mouth. He just could not stop talking and screaming and saying horrible things. And he eventually walks out of the house. And then Danielle gets on Carl and is like, stand up and be a man and defend your woman and tell your best friend to shut up. And, so she gets pissed off and it's like full chaos. We just, everything was just so insane. And Danielle is such a good friend. Like, I want her in my corner and I want her on my team in any kind of situation because she is going to bat for all of her friends. She even was like, I care more about Amanda's feelings than I care about, what's going on right now with Carl and Kyle. So I want to go fix things with Amanda. And she, they were able to like hash that out. And, she just is such a good friend. And she is the voice of reason in that house. And I can't believe that her and Lindsay are going to have a falling out. I know we're all just sort of waiting and holding our breath for that moment because we know it's coming. And I don't understand it because she is so ride or die for her friends. But yeah, it was chaos. Kyle was just screaming. Carl went to bed. The next morning they left. And I'm at this point now. I mean, they came back the next weekend, but they're not addressing the drama. And it's like, sorry. It's like when housewives are like, oh, the heat is on. I'm not going to go to that event. And it's like, for example, when Vanderpump doesn't show up at a reunion, she's no longer a housewife. It's like Carl and Lindsay, if you guys aren't going to stay in the house when there's like tension and there's things going on, you shouldn't be on this show because you need to like let these things play out. You need to like have these conversations. You need to let things happen on the camera. That's what you signed up for. If it's becoming too much, as Carl said, then it's time to exit the show. And that is how I feel because also I can't take another scene of Carl and Lindsay in their room, just snuggling and talking about how many miles to the moon they love each other, because that is old and tired and I'm done with that. So yeah, I can't do that Carl and Lindsay stuff in their room and just being recluses and then leaving at the first sign of drama. It's like they're done. I can't do them. And I don't say that this in a way that I don't like these people. It's just you're not delivering for the show. And I just don't think that you are giving us much. So then we've got Andrea leaving, which was devastating because why isn't Andrea a full-time cast member? And I guess like because he's not living in New York right now, but I feel like we do this a lot with these casts where like, couldn't he just come live in the Hamptons for the summer and like film for however many weeks they're filming, 6 weeks or whatever it is? Like, this is ridiculous that we have such a great, such a genuine character for this house. And the housemates clearly love him. And it's insane that like he isn't a full-time cast member because we don't have, I said it like a couple of weeks ago, but Chris is just not delivering anything. He's there. I forget he's there sometimes because he's not like giving much, in the midst of all this drama. His like one sort of call out is like, oh, we should be having fun. Like summer should be more fun than this. And, it's like, well, that's a recycled line from Kyle from years ago. And I'm not getting anything from him, but and this was like because these people, the Bravo fans out there, like we are in our own community and it should be a safe space community, but it is not, let me tell you, because, someone shared some feelings about Chris not really delivering on Twitter this week. And another account like came for them and was I feel like tried to make it like more racially based. And it's like, no, Chris is just not good. And if you don't bring anything to the show, I just said Carl doesn't bring anything to the show. Lindsay's not really bringing much to the show right now. I think she has more potential to, but Carl brings nothing. And I'll just say it. When Paige came back for the second weekend, I was like, oh, whoops, I forgot about Paige. I think that we're nearing the end of a Paige run on Summer House because, quite frankly, like, I don't think that she really delivers anything either. She comes into the house and then they hang out in bed the whole time and like eat snacks. And yes, she used to deliver some good lines, but that only gets you so far. Like, she's not delivering anything either. And so I forgot she was there. So Paige, Chris, Carl, like, these are people that don't need to be on our screens. Andrea, on the other hand, gives good TV for a lot of reasons. Let's get him back on our screens. And then I guess I don't really know if there was much else. I guess that Carl had the scene with his mom where they talk about, still grieving the loss of Carl's brother and all the things that, this experience has done for both of them. And I feel like that was an important scene because we need to be reminded about like why Carl is the way that he is right now and why he didn't like jump up and start fighting Kyle. But again, I don't know if he's like good for a summer house situation. I saw someone online had suggested that Lindsay needs to just become a Real Housewives of New York when they reboot the new cast. And then Carl can be a house husband. And it's like, that might actually be the right situation and right scenario for them, because I don't think that he is going to bring what Summer House needs in order to be the show that it is. So it'll be interesting to see kind of what happens there. But I thought that was interesting. And I also saw online that somebody had mentioned that Bethany, when she got married and was filming her Bethany Getting Married series that she had after Housewives, she was younger than, I think, either Lindsay or Kyle and Amanda. Somebody had said something about that, and they were like, imagine if Bethany and Jason were in the Summer House, because they were younger than these kids are that are in the show. So it was kind of wild to think about that. And that's when you start to go like, oh, like, these people are growing up, and maybe that's why they're not good on this show anymore. Maybe they need to like transition. And Bravo's now like fully going for the crossovers. And, people are joining different cities, and now we've got Phaedra going from Atlanta to Married to Medicine. So it's like, it's not a far leap to think that some of these girls from Summer House could potentially become cast members on other shows. I mean, maybe Paige and Craig will get married and Paige will become part of Southern Charm. And, I just don't think that that's beyond the stretch of our imagination. So anyways, let's move on. Because, as I said at the top, we're still deep in the Scandoval of it all. And this week's episode was wow, oh, wow, oh, wow. I mean, literally, I feel like my jaw was like wide open in that opening scene. And Andy claimed on his radio show, he said, he wanted to put this out into the universe. He was like, people are going to watch this week's episode and think that we recut it because of the Scandoval. And he's like, we did not touch it. He claims that they have not done any re-editing of the Vanderpump shows that we have seen, or the one that aired this week, since the Scandoval has happened. And if that is true, like, it's just insane what happened this week. So we open with, them coming home from the club, the girls coming home from the Vegas club where Raquel had made out with Oliver, who was a married man and who Lala was interested in. They get back, they're drunk. Raquel is a drunk mess. She is, eating, and like food is falling out of her mouth, and she is just on another level. And the girls are kind of like in the bed with Katie and Lala, I guess, are in the bed. I don't know. I think I think Christina had not joined at that point, but um, Katie mentions something to Lala along the lines of like, Mrs. like called Raquel like Mrs. only interested, better watch your man or something. I can't remember exactly what she had said, but ultimately in her confessional, she calls out that she's like, it seems that Raquel is only interested in men that are either married to or that her friends are interested in. And that in itself was like jaw drop moment, because as we know, what happened is that exactly that thing. And then it cuts to Lala telling Raquel, like, girl, I wouldn't trust you with my man. Like, you are on one. Like, this is crazy. And, Raquel snaps back with, well, good thing you don't have a man. And Lala was like, yeah, time for you to go to bed, because that was about to get lit, if not. And then the girls were just, I mean, they were like, watch your man around Raquel. Like, they just kept talking about how like this is Raquel's MO. And she was, listening at the door. And then she's like crying and being like, I didn't realize that like if I was just getting drunk and having fun, that this was going to be like, that this is going to be the outcome of it. And it's like, well, it's more than just getting drunk and having fun, because you're kissing somebody's man that they were interested in, also, by the way, who was married, and you're trying to like kiss your friend's ex-husband who they aren't even fully divorced yet. And so it's like, that's why these women are coming for you, not because you were just getting drunk and having fun. I mean, seriously, she is so crazy. But it's a lot. It was a lot. And then, the next day she, tries to put on a brave face. She's like, I don't remember much of what happened, but I feel like I said something offensive. And, so all the girls tried to kind of like move past it. And then she had a full on meltdown in the car on the way to Lake Havasu. And I mean, she was having an emotional breakdown where they had to pull over. They thought she was having a panic attack. Her face was trying to move while she was crying. And so that was like, interesting. She was covered in sweat stains in her pits. And I was like, this is not a good look. I mean, she was having a full scale breakdown. And I think that the women thought that she was breaking down because she was still in love with James. But I think, and, people have said that the affair with Tom Sandoval had not yet started at this point in filming. And so, because she, if she was having an affair at that point, trying to kiss Schwartz, kissing Oliver, and also having an affair with Tom Sandoval, that seems like a lot of things. But I don't know if I buy that, because I think that this breakdown was really her like breaking down over the cheating, over the secret that she was holding. It seemed like a lot. And so for just what she was kind of saying it was over and how she was feeling, it felt like there was more to it. And as we know, there probably was more to it. It was a lot. So that was a crazy scene. The girls tried to rally around her, which I thought was nice. And then Charlie arrives in Lake Havasu. She's a little extra with her shade. She meets Christina Kelly and is like, I don't know anything about her other than that she used to work at SUR and now she sells lip balm for a living. I mean, she's got good lines. She delivers one-liners, but it all feels like she's trying too hard a little bit to me. So I didn't love her. I don't know if I love her in general. She ended up like coming and taking, Raquel's side and everything. But we had Sheena back in LA we had Sheena really pushing Schwartz to move on. He's getting restyled. She's like, you need to have a divorce party. You need to have a guys' night, but a guys' night with me. And it all just feels like it's aimed at Katie rather than being supportive of Schwartz from Sheena's perspective. It doesn't seem like she's just sort of like picked that she's going to be Team Schwartz in the divorce because Katie called her a troll. And now she's like very heavily leaning on like, let's move you on. Let me support you. Let me find you, a new relationship, all of these things. So that was the kind of thing happening in LA. And then we get the scene where the Toms are at Tom Tom, like trying out some new drinks. But I don't know. I don't really remember that scene because all I could see was the lightning bolt necklace on Tom Sandoval, which we, of course, now know that Raquel and Tom Sandoval would wear lightning bolt necklaces to indicate their love for each other. And that was like a secret little thing that they used to do. So again, we're being told that the affair hadn't started, yet he's got the lightning bolt necklace on. And so it seems as though things were moving along at that point. So that was another big shocking moment that feels like it was edited in, but Andy, says it's not. And then, the girls are at Havasu. Raquel and Charlie leave after a dinner where Lala and Raquel really got into it, and Katie too, and they're calling her out for all of the things that she has done. And, Raquel, makes a point with Lala of like, well, you did get with Randall while he was married. You were his mistress. And you also slept with my boyfriend when I was dating him. So Lala does seem to be a little bit of a hypocrite in this situation. And that's what Raquel's point is. And in that sense, she has a point. So I'm not saying that Lala is the voice of reason or that she is the one that we should be praising for any of this. But yeah, they have their sort of altercation at dinner, and then Charlie and Raquel decide that they're going to go back to LA because they want to go to the boys' night with the Toms. So, again, Raquel wants to get back home to get to Tom Sandoval. So, or that's my take on it. And then, yeah, we get to the guys' night and all the guys are there. And of course, Sheena arrives and is like, I'm crashing because I'm the girl that didn't get invited to the girls' trip. So I'm going to be here with all the guys. And then somehow like it came up that Raquel and Charlie had left the trip and Tom Sandoval was the one that knew. And it was like, well, okay, so you knew that they had left the trip, but like, who told you that? Because no one else seemed to know. So that means that one of them must have communicated directly with you. And again, Raquel. So that was another little tidbit that I felt like had come out. And then we had, and then Raquel and Charlie arrive at the guys' night and they're like, all right, we're going to walk in. And I think that they're going to be surprised to see us. And they walk in and Tom did not look surprised. And I'm sorry, he's not an actor, though he thinks he is, but he did not look surprised that they arrived. And she went and they hugged immediately. And she went to sit next to Schwartz in this like slow-mo way. And the camera cuts to Tom Sandoval looking at them like he was eyeing them. It was like a Disney villain, like looking at his prey. And yeah, it was just all so wild. And it's all, I mean, this is actually like how we're going to be watching the series now, is that we're all going to be dissecting every moment of it to see this kind of stuff play out, to find the signs and the red flags that apparently no one else was seeing, where now it's like looking so obvious. And so it's pretty crazy. But that was the episode. It was a to be continued. So we'll kind of see what happens. We did find out this week that due to the restraining order, Sheena and Raquel can't be in the same room, but they can be on video conference. So that means that one of them is going to have to likely zoom in to the reunion, which I hope if we have to do that, if we don't delay the reunion, which I kind of feel like we need to just delay it until we get to the court hearing and hopefully drop these charges. Like, I hope it's Sheena that zooms in, because we need Raquel to be sitting there and face her victims. We need her to see what those people and what she has done and the chaos that she has caused. If she gets to zoom in, that's not acceptable to me, because she won't have to pay for any of the things that she's done. So that is really, really upsetting to find out, but we'll see how that goes. And then we also know that Ariana has made her return to socials. She posted her kind of official statement on Instagram that, she's devastated and that she's working through it. But, she says that she finishes her statement with, "What doesn't kill me better run." And I loved that, because, she's coming back and she's going to be a fierce bitch now. And I'm here for that. And I hope that, she continues to do well and prospers post breakup. And then we also know that Tom Schwartz is currently filming Winter House in Colorado. It was originally supposed to be both Toms, but I had speculated that that's why TMZ caught Tom at the airport, was that he was actually headed to Colorado. So that seems to have been confirmed. There are pictures of him with some of the other cast members, one of the new Below Deck guys who is going to be on Below Deck Sailing. So he's new. We haven't seen him, but I guess we're going to get a double dose of him on Bravo next year. And then Corey from last year's Winter House was in the photo as well with Tom. So we know that those three guys at least are in the house. And I think Brian from Shaws of Sunset was also there. So we're really mixing up the shows. Like I said, Bravo's like fully in on all the crossovers stuff now. And even on Watch What Happens Live this week, Danny Pellegrino had suggested to Andy that we needed to do an Ultimate Girls Trip, but not of Housewives, but have some of the Vanderpump and Summer House and some of all of those people. And Andy had said, yeah, I'm sure that will happen. So, I think that they're very much thinking in this space of now Bravo is just one sort of unit, and all the shows can be intermingled at this point. So, but yeah, so that's kind of what's happening on Bravo this week. It's been wild. I'm very excited for the reunion to be filmed, because I feel like a lot of news is going to come out of that, and we're gonna find out kind of who's paying for what, and we're gonna start getting some answers, hopefully. The other, I guess, kind of wild Scandoval rumor is that there is rumors flying that this affair with Sandoval and Raquel all started as a threesome with Ariana, and that the three of them had some kind of sexual encounter that they all had agreed to, and that then Tom and Raquel sort of split off of that and kept it going behind Ariana's back. So that's a new layer of this, and yeah, it just keeps unfolding. They keep delivering, guys. So that's our week on Bravo. Like always, I'll keep breaking it down. So don't forget to follow me on socials. I'm at CM Vetrano, and at listenitsvetrano.com for more on pop culture news. But until next week, we have another interview and a fun episode coming this Thursday. So don't forget to rate and subscribe so you don't miss that. And then next week we'll be talking about the Bravo shows again. So I'll be here, and I hope you will be too. So thanks for tuning in. I hope everyone has a great week, and we will talk soon. Bye.